this is going to be a pretty quick video, and it's addressing something that is very frequently asked, and I'm kind of surprised how frequently it's asked, because to me it seems like a very simple sort of solution and question, but you guys seem to want to know and question it a lot. So I thought I'd address it in a video, and that is, how do I take videos and photos at the same time whilst traveling? And I think there's maybe a little bit more depth to it than just quite simply, what am I doing, but also like, how do I mentally prepare for it? So we're going to dive into that and jump through my very simple but logical solution to a lot of those questions, I guess. So for the most part, I carry everything all in the one backpack. So I've made a what's in my camera bag video fairly recently, it was a few months back, but it's still all relevant. Everything is all in the one backpack, so you have to remember that even though I may be showing photography stuff, what you don't see is the whole camera setup, which is this big beast here, which is the Panasonic Lumix GH5. I've been using this for the last like 2 years or so, and it has done me very proud indeed. Only recently have I just lost the eye cup. That's about the only thing that's kind of gone wrong with this camera. I love it to bits, it's an absolute tank, and it's just geared towards filmmaking so well. And hopefully you can see that as well. Over the last 2 years, the video quality, I think, has improved, not just on creative aspect, but on the actual production value as well. And it's mostly been the same camera, which I think is amazing. So first of all, the main principle is very simple. It's quite literally, I take photos on one camera. Today, I've got the Fujifilm X-H1, and I take video and I vlog with the Panasonic GH5. This particular video is being currently filmed completely on the iPhone 11 Pro Max, and I've got the Rode Video Mic Me L plugged in as well. So let's just do, Early's current setup is just the two like this, and that's covering the whole film. But of course, there's more to it than just having two cameras. It can get very difficult when you're switching between mindsets of the two disciplines, and which one do you take photos of, which ones do you film, how do you switch between the two? So there is a physical process and a bit of a mental process on how you actually kind of go about that. And of course, I've been doing this for the last 5 years or so, and over that time I've gotten better, hopefully. I feel like I've gotten better at actually telling the stories and getting the images that I want. So over the last couple of years, I've really got on board with having straps for my camera. Previously, I used to like having no straps at all and just maybe having it around my wrist or something. When you're carrying two, it's quite necessary to have those. So, strap around the neck for the camera. I also use the Peak Design Capture Clip Pro, I think that's what it's called, or the Capture V3, something like that. And that just holds it on there. So that takes most of the weight throughout the day, and that's just my photo camera that stays there. Then I'll swing around to my video one, and it's just like a very quick motion of boom, like that, straight to talking. And now we are vlogging, talking like this. Once I've stopped, take it off, and then boom, straight like this. So that's how I can very quickly kind of switch between the two. Ooh. Sometimes a little bit fiddly, and within a few seconds or so you can get video of a scene, photo of a scene, because a lot of people are questioning. They say, are the photos you're showing stills from the video? I can appreciate why you might think that, but it's not the case. And then other times Ellie is filming on a separate camera and I'm getting photos, but hopefully those should be very obvious because they're from completely different angles, or you know, other shots like that. But it is interesting that honestly, I get countless messages or comments saying, are these still frames from the video? It's like, no, one's photo, one's video. I don't know, I find that kind of weird. So as I said, this isn't necessarily a video about the tech and the gear. I've actually just switched to the GH5 now. But it's maybe more in-depth towards like a mental process. So one of the questions I guess that gets asked a lot is more a case of, how do you travel, take photos, take video, and enjoy the scene that you're looking at? And I can appreciate that as well, because a lot of people would maybe question and be like, why don't you actually enjoy the scene rather than always take photos of it? But my argument towards that is that I actually enjoy travel so much because of the photos I'm taking. And it's kind of like a way to acknowledge what I'm actually looking at through a scene, and by traveling through the viewfinder, I am seeing those details. I'm taking in all of those little intricacies and nuances of a culture and a location because I'm focusing on it with my camera, literally and figuratively. I think that has a huge impact on the way that I enjoy travel, and a lot of people maybe don't get to appreciate that side of travel, and you know, they go home and they don't remember those finer details. So I use the camera as my means of sort of really ingesting an area, and it brings together two of my absolute biggest passions, travel and photography. And of course, filmmaking is kind of the means to connect them all together as well. So yeah, that's kind of how I sort of see my attitude towards creating things. But there also comes a point, and this is especially apparent when you're perhaps learning photography, of knowing when to take photos, when to take video, and when to stop and actually just enjoy the scene that you're in. At what point do you know that you've got enough footage or enough photos? And that does come with experience. It's especially difficult when you're learning photography because you maybe don't get as many successful shots as you're maybe having to set up your camera or switch between scenarios, and you maybe don't understand all the functionality and the science behind the exposure triangle and things like that. But as a general rule of thumb, there kind of comes a point when you get to know what style of photos you're taking. Maybe for me, for example, I quite like taking close-up details of maybe a packed scene as well as a very wide detail with something kind of like a subject focus in the middle. Those are kind of like two very go-to standardized shots that I take. So I'll quite often smash off a few of those, and then if I'm seeing other things that's catching my attention, then I'll capture those. And if there's no sort of real eye candy as such, there's nothing that's really grabbing me creatively, then I kind of know that I've got my standard ones, I've maybe got a couple of extra ones, and that's it. That's enough for that scene. I'm not going to stay there and really try and rinse it for anything more if I'm just genuinely not feeling it in my heart. Now, there are times when you're maybe stood in a particular area and you can capture so many shots, so many things are grabbing your attention, the light is changing, there's a lot happening, and you can spend a long time there. But if things aren't really dynamically moving, generally you know when you've got enough. When it comes to deciding which ones do you film, which ones do you photograph, that can be kind of tricky. So for example, say you've got a nice street and there's some harsh shadows coming in, you've got great lighting, and you're just waiting for a subject to come through, whether that's a motorbike or someone walking, and you're just waiting for that prime opportunity because it will make a great scene. But do you photo it or do you film it? Again, this is a tricky one. Generally, what I like to think of is if there's significant movement in a scene, then I will film it, unless of course I'm trying to capture it in photo that shows movement. So for example, maybe that's like a blurred vehicle moving past something, or maybe it's a particular person that's kind of blurred and you see the whole scene as it is. But usually if there's significant movement, or if there's a little detail that catches your attention that's maybe twinkling or moving, but the whole scene is static, then I will film it. There are times when I do both. I get a photo of the area and film it, and obviously you spend just twice as long switching between the two cameras. But a lot of the time I just I'm drawn to something that's like, that would make a great photo, and I'm thinking about where that photo could go. Maybe it's printed somewhere, or maybe it's a desktop wallpaper, and I can just see it in my head as I'm looking at it. Or other times I'm thinking of it in video, and I can just see that this connects the dots of the narrative from what I last filmed to where I'm filming next. It's kind of a tricky thing to explain, but I guess what I'm getting at is that over time you build up an idea and an understanding of what works and what doesn't. That doesn't really help you, does it? So I guess in your mind you really have to make a choice, and you have to be firm and confident in your decision. Is this going to be stronger as a photo, or is this going to be stronger as video? Sometimes you just can't do both, and you really have to sacrifice one in order to improve and strengthen the other. If you can get both, then bonus, but otherwise you always have to kind of keep your mind just kind of flicking between the two disciplines and knowing which one's stronger and which one will kind of stand out more. So the other main thing to pay attention to is to remember that although the majority of these videos are around 12 to say 15 minutes in length, you are only seeing 12 to 15 minutes of likely a whole day. So yes, you may think like, oh, you've not shown this or you've only shown that and stuff, but remember, we are spending a whole day doing other things. Although it may feel like it's connected, there's actually a lot of time in between, or even sometimes that whole video could be filmed in the space of just a couple of hours or something on a particular weekday or whatever. But generally, as a rule of thumb, most of the videos that I edit, they start with around 40 minutes worth of footage in total, and then that gets trimmed and cut down. So I feel like I've gotten pretty efficient at kind of maintaining that sort of same length of footage to work with from a start. So if you think about it, that's about 40 minutes looking through the viewfinder in a whole, 12-hour day traveling somewhere. So it's just maybe a little bit of perspective on that. So I hope this video has kind of been somewhat useful. A lot of the things that I'm addressing, they feel kind of natural and fairly obvious to me, but they may not be to you. If you enjoy these little tidbits and other simple videos, then leave a comment down below and I'll try and share some more kind of insights into the way that I make the work that I'm making. Likewise, if you want to see more of the travel vlogs, then head over to Jelly Journeys and you can subscribe there, turn on the bell notification, and you'll get all of those travel videos. So yeah, that just about wraps it up. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll catch you in a new video soon. See you later. Bye bye.